Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drawing and Talking with me, FreebieWits, your host. And today's going to be slightly different in that we're not just doing a normal drawing, not even a black and white drawing like I normally do. We're doing a color drawing that's animated. So for those of you who don't know, I don't just do drawing and talking videos where I draw about characters and then talk about them. I also do a Larp series, specifically in the same vein as the Joe Cat created Crap Guide to D&D or Monster Hunter. Now I would say it's inspired, but I'm kind of ripping him off. I'm sort of putting my own spin on it, mind you, but originally the series was going to be a lot more insult focused. And frankly, it didn't quite work. I'm not very good at writing insults, and one of my friends who knows me asked me, why don't you make it a bit more wholesome, a bit more encouraging? So I did. There are still some bits that are insulting here and there, a few sarcastic bits. Of course, I throw in the obviously wrong facts every now and then, but for the most part, I try to be very encouraging when it comes to my Guide to LARP series, which I call I'm going to show you how to LARP. Now, the problem with this compared to Joe Cat's Guide to Monster Hunter, Guide to D&D, is that D&D is its own system. Monster Hunter is its own game. LARP is a hobby overall. Like, I can't just say, here's a guide to LARP in the same way Joe Cat says, here's a guide to D&D. Because at the end of the day, no two LARPs play the exact same. Now, I know D&D GMs and players all play very differently, but unlike D&D where I can say, hey, roll a d20 to be able to hit something and do this much damage with an axe, in LARP, it's not always the case. To hit someone is pretty universal, but how much damage an axe does can differ from system to system. It's more accurate to call LARP a tabletop RPG. It's a genre of gaming rather than an actual specific system. And that is an issue in that for my I'm going to show you how to LARP series, I had to be very, very broad with my advice, with my guide. I can't just say, hey, always wear metal armor because it's going to be better than leather armor. In most systems, yes, this is the case, but in other systems, there are sometimes drawbacks. For example, in a lot of systems with magic, for example, you're disincentivized from wearing too much metal if you have fireball spells because they overload, or you're limited, or your health is reduced and your armor is not effective if you wear too much armor and such. I can't just say use a two-handed weapon because it'll do more damage because, once again, not all LARPs follow this rule. And unlike Joe Cat, instead of going through each individual predefined category, which is very obvious in Monster Hunter, he chose the weapons. In D&D, he chose the classes. I mean, I suppose the weapons in Monster Hunter are basically the different classes you can play, different play styles. I choose to go beyond that in LARP, because while the actual LARPing and the different kind of characters you can play are very important, there's minutia in every other part. It's like Joe Cat making an entire episode in D&D on how to be a skill monkey, or how to go through the DMG with the spells, or how to get spell components, so on and so forth. I'm focusing on fairly niche topics. I mean, LARP is reasonably niche as well. I feel it's getting more and more popular these days, but that could just be me integrating myself with that community more. So for all I know, it could still be niche and getting more niche, and I just wouldn't realize it because to my perception, it is getting quite large. I might have to do some research on that one day. Anyways, with my Guide to LARP series, I am planning to make a Season 3, no idea when that's going to be complete, and that's why I'm drawing all of this. I also want to practice my backgrounds because I am terrible with backgrounds, so here I am drawing the terrain rather poorly, to be honest. And I've also noticed something that applies to a lot of drawings I do, and it's that when I shade my characters, I always put the light at the top right, so the shade and the shadows somewhere on the left-hand side. It's just something I've noticed I do. I'm probably not going to really break away from that unless I need to, but it is a quirk of mine that I do have to keep in mind for future stuff, I believe. Now, how long does it take me to make a I'm going to show you how to LARP video? And the answer is maybe a day. It's unclear because the actual writing of it does take quite a while and I do refine it over time. And once I'm happy, I put it in one of my Google Drive document folders and just say, oh, it's ready to be recorded. In which case I'll record the voiceover and then I'll do all the drawings. The drawings take the longest amount of time. It feels like it can take a day. It only takes like 4, maybe 6 hours to do all the drawings. However, my brain kind of goes mush by the end of it. I feel like I need breaks halfway through or very much afterwards, and I can't really do much work after that. And then to actually edit all the pictures into the video, make it match up with the audio of which doesn't take too long. It may take 10 to 30 minutes depending on how many reshoots I do. I say reshoots, but it's more that I pause the audio, go back a bit, and re-record the last bit that I screwed up. So it's sort of something I do in one continuous take, but if I notice a problem, I'll go over it. Now, the actual drawing itself, I mentioned the shading, I mentioned the background. Now, I'll mention the animation. For the most part, I can do animations in 2 different ways. The first one is I make a couple pictures and I actually put them into the video editor as well, into the video editor itself, and then put them in order and it's animated that way. Or, for the sake of ease, in some cases, I take the pictures, put them in GIMP, and then I put them in through a animation filter. In fact, that's actually the program I'm using for this piece of art right now. I'm using GIMP 2. Normally I use ArtRage and it's something I'm more comfortable with, but for animations and I suppose color, GIMP 2 is what I prefer. There are tons of better ways of animations. In fact, GIMP 2 is terrible for it, but it's the only thing I really know at the moment. Eventually, I want to get into and experience Krita, but that's not going to happen for a while, honestly. I might just have to spend a day and force myself to get through it and figure it out properly, watch all the YouTube tutorials, that sort of thing. Seriously, GIMP is just bad for me. I kept trying to combine layers in the wrong way, and oh gosh, I get the impression that it could have been so much easier if I just knew what I was doing. It would just been so, like, half the time was just wrestling with the program itself over actual animation, which I'm proud to say I got on, I got straight on almost the first try. Like, I didn't really have to redraw any frames. I think for one of the scarves, I had to, raise a tiny bit, but beyond that, I didn't have to draw extra frames or remove anything. It was just slight modification there. And I'm kind of proud of it. Anyways, that's my drawing and talking video today. If you liked what you've seen and heard, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you another day. Hell, maybe check out some of my other videos, like the Guide to LARP series that I was talking about. I've made 2 whole seasons and quite a few specials. Anyways, bye-bye.